In the hot heart of Austin, where the rhythms of the streets sound like a challenge to fate, the morning dawn already heralded something more than just a new day. The warm light, breaking through the thin haze of early morning, seemed like a signal for change, a change that would turn the life of the entire city upside down. From the first seconds, when the streets filled with the sounds of live music and the quiet hum of pre-dawn bustle, it was clear that today promised to be a special day filled with unexpected encounters and fateful moments. Against the backdrop of a cityscape where every corner held its own story, there he was, Keanu Reeves. Not just a movie star, but a man with an extraordinary ability to sense the pulse of life, to hear even the quietest whispers of hope in the hearts of ordinary people. His appearance in Austin seemed like a sign that even in the most unexpected places, among ordinary people, a spark can flare up that can dispel the darkness of loneliness and indifference. Keanu walked through the narrow streets of the historic center, where ancient buildings and modern style merged into one, as if reminding us that the past and the future always go hand in hand. His steps were calm, but there was determination in them, determination to change not only his own destiny, but also the destinies of those who found themselves at the crossroads of life. His gaze revealed wisdom acquired over years of experiences, and his smile concealed hope for a better future. His path that day was not accidental. Keanu was looking not just for a refuge from the deafening world of show business, but for a place where he could once again feel the taste of real life. Austin, with its endless creative opportunities, vibrant street culture, and genuine American sincerity, became an arena where dreams and destinies gathered. Here, every passerby, be it a young entrepreneur, a talented musician, or just a person with big dreams, had a chance to change their story. In a corner of a bustling market district, where the air was filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee and the smoke from outdoor grills, a small drama unfolded. Young Benjamin, with a glint of hope in his eyes, was trying to sell his collection of vintage vinyl records. His passion for music, ignited in childhood by the sounds of legendary hits, today faced the cruelty of indifference. Among the passers-by, most of whom were hurrying about their business, his dream seemed like a noisy echo of a bygone era, unwanted in this rapidly changing world. But the moment the words of disdain and ridicule cut through the morning air, Keanu stopped. His attention instantly turned to the boy whose voice, full of dreams and vulnerability, was almost drowned out by the cynicism of the world around him. Keanu's eyes penetrated the essence of what was happening, and a determination ignited within them. This day could not pass like all the others. With his presence, hope was born, hope that could illuminate even the darkest corners of the heart. In that tense moment, when it seemed like the entire street was holding its breath, Keanu Reeves stepped forward to protect a young dream from harsh words and cold disdain. His appearance was like lightning cutting through the night, unexpected, bright, and unpredictable. And it was in that moment, to the sounds of early Austin, that a story began that promised not only to change one man's life, but to inspire an entire city to fight for kindness, justice, and love. Thus, in the first hours of this fateful morning, Austin woke up not only to the rhythms of music and city noise, but also to the sounds of a heart ready to accept change. Keanu Reeves, with his quiet but confident presence, became not just a witness, but an active participant in events that promised to rewrite the script of everyday life. This day was the beginning of a great story full of drama, unexpected meetings, and sincere emotions, a story that will make every listener believe that even the most ordinary morning hides miracles that can change life forever. The streets of Austin were slowly waking up after a stormy morning awakening, as if expecting that today their lives would finally change. Keanu Reeves, who was already surrounded by an aura of morning determination, continued his way along the busy streets of the center, where every building and storefront spoke of the city's rich history and its inexhaustible spirit of innovation. His gaze, directed forward, was looking not only for the beauty of the surrounding world, but also for the opportunity to change the lives of those who crossed his path. On the corner of the main street, amidst colorful graffiti and the melodic sounds of street musicians, he noticed a small group of people gathered around an old bookstall. The books, soaked in the scent of time, seemed like a real treasure trove of knowledge and emotion. Among those gathered, a middle-aged woman named Jessica stood out, the owner of a small shop who had dedicated her entire life to giving people the opportunity to immerse themselves in the world of literature and memories. Jessica was known for her kindness and ability to listen, and her sincere interest in each visitor attracted the attention of passers-by like a magnet. Keanu, noticing her in the crowd, stopped to find out what exactly had attracted the attention of the residents. He heard Jessica lovingly telling about a rare book found in the attic of an old mansion and its author, a man whose fate was full of tragedies, but also the light that saved him from despair. Her story sounded filled with awe and faith that even in the darkest moments of life, you can find a ray of hope. People around listened as if spellbound, forgetting for a while about everyday worries and immersing themselves in a world where each page of the book became a mirror of the soul. At that moment, Keanu felt that his presence in Austin was not accidental. His mission was to be the one who brings support, light, and love to places where indifference and cynicism reign. He came closer to the group to join the conversation. His soft voice, like the rustling of leaves in the wind, inspired confidence and calm. Jessica noticed his appearance and turned to him with a joyful smile. Keanu, it's good to see you here. This city knows how to surprise, doesn't it? Every corner holds a story that can heal the heart even on the darkest days. Keanu nodded, agreeing with her words, and without wasting a minute, added, Jessica, every word you say is like magic, capable of reviving people's souls. I am here to hear their stories, share their joy, and, perhaps, help them find a way out of the most confusing labyrinths of fate. Thus began a new chapter in his journey, a meeting where each person, like a unique work of art, offered a piece of their world. For several hours, Keanu moved from one story to another, listening to stories of love, loss, dreams, and hopes. He spoke with young musicians who were raising money to create a recording studio, with artists who were trying to convey the true beauty of their work to society, and with those who had lost faith in a better future but still sought salvation in books and poetry. One of these people was Jason, a young entrepreneur who dreamed of opening his own cafe, where people could gather, share ideas, and simply enjoy the moment. His energy and passion for life were infectious, and Keanu immediately sensed that there was a huge potential for change behind every word Jason said. Jason told how as a child he dreamed of becoming an artist, but life, like a cruel game, forced him to abandon his dream and choose the path of commerce. His soul, however, remained sincere and tender, as if deep inside each person there lives a little artist, waiting for his moment. I've always believed, Jason said, that art and passion can transform our world. But now, when I look at the people here on the streets of Austin, I understand that every little dream has a right to exist. You just need to find the courage to take the first step. Listening to his words, Keanu realized that the true strength of the city lay in its people, in their ability to see beauty where no one else saw it, and in their ability to find support even in the most difficult moments. In this diversity of destinies and stories, he saw an opportunity to build a new, more humane world. A world where every voice, every dream, and every word would matter. Time seemed to slow down, allowing each participant of this morning performance to reveal their thoughts and feelings. Keanu, feeling the depth of what was happening, suggested holding a small, improvised concert on the square, where local musicians could perform their compositions, filled with warmth and sincerity. The idea immediately caused a storm of enthusiastic responses. People looked at each other joyfully, and the air was filled with anticipation of a miracle. This was the moment when an ordinary morning turned into a celebration of life, when art became a bridge between hearts, and music, a voice uniting souls. The makeshift stage, decorated with colorful lights and posters from local artists, began to play music, filling the streets of Austin with a melody that could take away worries and fears. Keanu watched this magic, feeling how each note awakened faith in the best in people. The looks, full of gratitude and hope, spoke of the fact that even the most fragile hearts can heal from pain and fatigue, if there are those nearby who are ready to lend a helping hand. At that moment, when the sounds of music mixed with the voices of grateful residents, Keanu realized that he had found his true calling, to be not just a spectator, but an active participant in life, capable of inspiring others to change. Every meeting, every word, and every feeling formed a single orchestra that promised to create a real miracle. In this city, where the past intertwined with the future, where hope and dreams created a unique harmony, Keanu Reeves became a symbol of change, sincerity, and eternal faith that every person deserves a chance at happiness. And so the day continued, full of unexpected encounters, deep conversations, and musical improvisations. Austin opened his soul to everyone who was ready to listen, and every corner of him reminded that life is a series of small miracles that can transform even the most ordinary moments. Keanu, feeling the warmth of these moments, understood that many more trials awaited him ahead, but he was no longer afraid of anything, because he had found friends, like-minded people, and the strength that only true mutual understanding gives. As the sun rose higher and higher, bathing the city in golden light, the streets of Austin came alive with the sounds of laughter, music, and quiet conversations. Each new encounter left an imprint on his heart, and each story became part of the great canvas that he willingly continued to paint, step by step, together with the inhabitants of this amazing city. Here, among the sounds of music and people's voices, Keanu Reeves felt that he had finally found his place, a place where every word, every movement, and every melody became part of the great symphony of life, capable of changing the world for the better. As the day in Austin continued to reveal its secrets, Keanu Reeves, feeling the pulse of this unique city under his feet, walked along the busy streets, where each intersection seemed like the beginning of a new story. His soul was full of determination, and his heart was ready to accept fate in all its manifestations. Already behind him were the morning musical improvisations and Jessica's warm smiles, which left him with a feeling of the inevitable beginning of something grand. But fate, as always, does not give rest, and Keanu will soon face another test that can turn the usual course of life upside down. In the very center of the city, on Congress Avenue, where the dynamics of the metropolis combine with the coziness of ancient buildings, Keanu noticed a small group of people gathered at a small street theater. There, on an improvised stage, a local playwright and actor named Mark was performing. A man who had spent his entire life looking for an opportunity to convey to listeners the truth about what was happening in their souls, about the fact that most of life's tragedies are hidden in the unsaid and the fear of being misunderstood. His monologues, filled with the bitterness of loss and the sweetness of memories, attracted the attention of even the most indifferent passers-by. Keanu paused to listen to Mark's words. His voice, slightly hoarse from excitement, penetrated straight into the hearts of the listeners, making them forget about the daily hustle and bustle. He spoke of lost love, of dreams broken by time, and of how even the deepest wounds can heal if given a chance to heal. Each of his words penetrated the souls of those present, creating an atmosphere of frankness and emotional closeness, as if the whole city had frozen in anticipation of a miracle. For Keanu, this was not just another incident on his path. It was a meeting with himself, with those experiences that he carried inside himself, despite his external calm and wisdom. There was also a young woman named Emily in the crowd, tired of constantly fighting fate and searching for her place in this world. Her gaze was filled with a mixture of sadness and undisguised hope, which she tried to maintain despite life's hardships. Emily came to Austin to start a new life, leaving behind a difficult past filled with disappointments and betrayals. But the past, as it turned out, did not let her go so easily, and each new day became a test of the strength of her faith in a bright future. As Mark finished his story, the silence that enveloped the small area was as palpable as the words that remained in the air. Keanu moved closer to Emily, sensing that there was a story worth sharing in her eyes. He spoke softly. "It seems like a whole book is written on your face. Maybe you want to tell your story?" Emily, a little embarrassed by the attention, but charmed by the actor's sincerity, began to share her experiences. She talked about growing up in a small town in the South, where dreams seemed unattainable, and each new day brought only disappointment. Her life was like an endless struggle with prejudices and her own fears, but despite everything, she continued to believe in the power of change and miracles that can happen if you give yourself a chance. With each of her phrases, filled with slight sadness and quiet determination, people around her seemed to fall silent to hear every word, as if they understood that behind this story there was a spark that could light a fire of hope. Keanu listened attentively, without interrupting, allowing Emily to open up to him, and the crowd gathered around her. In that moment, he realized that his journey in Austin was not just an escape from his old life, but an opportunity to become a guide for those in need of new hope. He himself knew how difficult it was to find support in a world where cynicism and indifference reigned, and he decided that he could not remain indifferent to the fates of others. Shortly after his conversation with Emily, as the street theater stage once again filled with voices and applause, Keanu felt an invisible thread connecting him to everyone in the room. He watched as Mark continued his speech, talking about love and loss, and the people sitting on the old wooden benches seemed to momentarily forget their problems, immersed in the magic of words and emotions. Passing by an outdoor cafe where the aroma of freshly roasted coffee mingled with hints of vanilla and cinnamon, Keanu ran into an old childhood friend, James, who had long since moved to Austin in search of a new life. James, with his face lined with years of hard work, was a man who always had the ability to see the light in even the darkest situations. He shared his observations with Keanu. The city, he said, was full of stories that could heal even the most wounded souls if given the chance to be heard. James spoke of the people who crossed paths every day, of the small miracles that happen when someone reaches out at just the right moment. Talking to James only reinforced Keanu's conviction that his presence in Austin was no accident. Here, among the bustling streets and quiet alleys, he had found not only a haven for his soul, but also a new mission: to be a voice for those who cannot speak, a defender of dreams, and a bridge between the past and the future. He knew that trials, dramatic turns of fate, and perhaps more losses lay ahead, but his resolve only grew stronger with every word he heard and every soul he met. So, step by step, at the crossroads of fate, Keanu Reeves plunged into the world of Austin, where every voice, every smile, and every tear became bricks in the wall of a big house called life. This city taught him that even in the most inhospitable conditions, it is possible to find warmth if there are people nearby who are ready to share their light. And although the day was just beginning, one could already feel how changes were creeping into every corner of this amazing place, promising that life will never cease to amaze those who know how to listen and believe in miracles. As the sun began to gradually sink behind the Austin horizon, the city was enveloped in a warm twilight light, and the streets filled with the bustle of the day gradually gave way to the quiet, almost magical charm of the evening. Keanu Reeves, who had managed to not only witness but also participate in many fateful meetings during the day, felt confidence and quiet determination growing in his soul. But fate, as always, prepared tests for those who sought to change the world for the better. That evening, an unexpected scene unfolded on Congress Avenue that shook the hearts of many city residents. In a small alley where the cozy coffee shop Morning Brew was located, a quarrel began between a group of young people and a local businessman known for his tough character and harsh statements. Among the protesters was Rick, a young man with a bright charisma and a stormy life story, who always spoke out for justice and against any manifestations of intolerance. Rick, who had already encountered injustice more than once, could not remain indifferent to the insults heard against the weak and disadvantaged. The argument began suddenly. A businessman named Gregory, with an arrogant smile on his face, began to openly ridicule the employees of the coffee shop for their, as he claimed, low level of professionalism. His words sounded like icy arrows, penetrating the deepest corners of the human soul. Rick could not stand such treatment and stepped forward, trying to defend not only the employees, but all those who could not stand up for themselves. At that moment, Keanu, who was watching what was happening, felt a flame of determination ignite inside him. He knew that every little thing, every word that could hurt someone's honor, required intervention if the world was to become a little kinder. "Gregory, stop," Rick said loudly, his voice shaking with emotion, but sounding confident, like a challenge to injustice. "Everyone here deserves respect, and your words are of no use to anyone." The crowd gathered at the entrance to the coffee shop first froze, and then began to actively support the young defender. At this point, when the tension reached its peak, Keanu approached the conflicting parties. His calm but firm voice quickly managed to calm the situation, reminding everyone that true strength is not in harsh words and aggression, but in the ability to listen and support each other. Keanu spoke about the importance of giving people the opportunity to grow, believe in themselves, and dream, even if the world around them seems cruel and indifferent. Gregory, realizing that his behavior was attracting more and more attention, tried to justify himself, but his words rang hollow and unconvincing. The crowd, inspired by Keanu's intervention, gradually dispersed, leaving behind a sense that even the harshest words can be softened by kindness and understanding. The incident became a reminder for everyone that even in the darkest moments, there is always room for light and support. That evening, Keanu couldn't help but think about how thin the line was between good and evil, between indifference and action. His thoughts wandered to Emily, whose quiet sadness and determination still lingered in his memory, and to James, who shared the wisdom of years of hard work and heartfelt encounters. Each of them, in their own way, was fighting for a better future, and now, as the city faced yet another challenge, that fight seemed especially meaningful. After the conflict was resolved, Keanu decided to walk along the Colorado River embankment, where the evening lights reflected in the calm water, creating the illusion of a fairy tale world. Here, far from the bustle of the city, he allowed himself to forget about the difficulties for a while and remember why he chose the path of change. Every meeting, every word of support, and every smile shared with strangers gave him strength and confidence that even one spark can ignite the fire of hope in the hearts of people. Walking along the embankment, Keanu met an old musician named Lewis, who, despite the years, continued to play street melodies on his violin, causing tears and smiles at the same time. Lewis, with eyes full of memories and wisdom, told Keanu that music is the language of the soul, capable of uniting people and healing wounds. He told how in his youth he himself witnessed many stories, how people united by melodies overcame the pain of loss and found the strength to move on. Keanu listened attentively, realizing that every word of this old man was filled with truth that could not be expressed in words. Meanwhile, downtown, life went on. Jessica closed her bookstand, counting the day's profits and dreaming of people coming to her shop every week to hear stories that could inspire change. Emily, having left her mark on the evening, walked toward a small park where, under the shade of old oak trees, one could find the solitude and peace needed to recuperate. Each of these destinies, intertwined in this amazing city, was like a separate note in the symphony that Keanu aspired to write together with the people of Austin. Returning to the center, Keanu felt that the evening had brought not only challenges, but also new opportunities for dialogue, for building a bridge between different worlds and life positions. He understood that change begins with small things, with one kind word, with one act of support, with one step towards another person. It was this understanding that gave him the strength to move forward, despite all the obstacles and the darkness that from time to time visited people's hearts. That evening, as the night shrouded Austin and the city lights flickered in the darkness, Keanu Reeves felt that his mission here was not just to be a witness to what was happening, but to be an active participant in a great story in which every person has the right to light and love. His presence, like a quiet call for change, reminded everyone that even in the most difficult moments, one can find comfort and support if only the heart is open to goodness. Thus ended this evening, full of trials and hopes. Austin, despite its past grievances and clashes, continued to live, giving everyone a chance for renewal, forgiveness, and a new life. Keanu, tired but full of determination, knew that new meetings, new trials, and new victories awaited him ahead, who, together with the residents of this amazing city, would turn every little thing into a great deed, capable of changing the world for the better. Night in Austin was already coming into its own when Keanu Reeves continued his way along the narrow streets of the historic center, where even the old buildings seemed to be witnesses not only of bygone days, but also of future achievements. The city, shrouded in the soft haze of street lamps and the quiet rustle of the wind, was still vibrating from past emotions and meetings, leaving unforgettable traces in the soul of each participant. But it was precisely in such moments, when it seemed that the silence of the night was ready to hide the deepest wounds, that Keanu understood. It was here and now that dreams came true and new horizons were born. Down an alleyway where apartment buildings with shabby facades told stories of the past, Keanu stopped at an old studio converted into a hub for creative initiatives. Here, amidst the brightly colored murals and creative chaos, people gathered to share their dreams, ideas, and, often, the pain of loss. The center was called New Dawn, and its patrons believed that even the most fractured dreams could find form and meaning if given the chance to blossom. As soon as Keanu stepped through the door, he was greeted by a sonic mix of live music, spontaneous speeches, and laughter that seemed to reach deep into the souls of everyone present. There, among the colorful paintings and homemade sculptures, he noticed a young man named Alex, whose eyes, filled with a mixture of anxiety and determination, were searching for answers to the questions that tormented his heart. Alex, a former street artist who had lost his ability to express himself due to the harsh realities of city life, was now looking for a way to regain his lost voice through art. Alex stood next to a large board filled with messages of encouragement and calls for change. His voice shook as he spoke of his dreams. "I have always believed that art can heal the wounds of the soul, but when dreams are shattered by cold reality, only ashes remain. I want to restore people's faith in themselves, and the fact that each of us can become an artist of our own life." Keanu, sensing the spark Alex was trying to ignite, came closer and quietly added, "Perhaps it is in these ashes that the seed of a new beginning lies. Sometimes the destruction of the old gives the opportunity to build something completely amazing." The actor's words evoked a lively response among those present. People who had previously hidden their pain behind masks of indifference began to open up and tell stories about losses, disappointments, but also about those small joys that, despite all the hardships, continued to warm their hearts. That evening, New Dawn became a place where everyone could feel part of something bigger, a community united by the desire to change and create a new reality. Meanwhile, across town, in the trendy South Congress district, where the evening lights mingled with the rhythms of contemporary music, a different story was unfolding. Here, in one of the cozy bars called the Lone Star Lounge, a conversation was taking place between entrepreneurs, artists, and musicians dreaming of a new era of change. Among them was Lauren, a successful art gallery owner who could see potential where others saw only chaos and hopelessness. Lauren spoke about her struggle to preserve the city's cultural heritage, about how the modern world is gradually erasing the boundaries between the past and the present, turning unique stories into mundane noise. Her words, full of passion and pain, inspired and made us think, how to preserve our identity in the era of globalization and commercialization. Lauren believed that every creation, every small detail of city life, be it an old graffiti on the wall or a carefully selected painting, carries a part of the soul of the city. She dreamed of a day when Austin would again become a place where dreams come true, and art would become a language understood by everyone. Keanu, who had been at the center of the New Dawn events all along, felt an inextricable connection between the two sides of the city. He understood that change required not only heart and heartfelt words, but also bold action. So the idea was born to bring together Austin's creatives, those who had created in the inner circle of New Dawn and influential members of the cultural elite, like Lauren. Keanu proposed a citywide initiative that would bring together art, music, and stories of hope to demonstrate that even in a world dominated by commerce and cynicism, there is always room for authenticity. Over the next few hours, amidst the lively dialogue, discussions, and the wild exchange of ideas, the air was filled with the spirit of a coming revolution. People talked about how the destructive forces of modern life could be transformed into constructive energy if each of them dared to believe in themselves. Keanu listened, watching the sincere looks, the hope awakening on people's faces. He saw how small dreams, so long extinguished by the mundane, began to light a fire in their hearts that could illuminate even the darkest corners of the city. But it wasn't all that simple. The ideas seemed to flare up with passion, but every great beginning was followed by difficulties, and the city couldn't remain indifferent to internal discord. Some Austinites, accustomed to stability and familiar rhythms of life, were skeptical about new beginnings, considering them just fashionable experiments. In these moments, Keanu reminded everyone that change is never easy, and that every sincere attempt to change the world requires courage, patience, and time. He said that true art, like real life, always goes through the fire of trials before it shines in all its glory. On this evening, when the city was divided between those who embraced the new wave of change and those who preferred to stay in the familiar rhythm, Keanu Reeves became a kind of bridge between the worlds. He knew how to find a common language with everyone, regardless of views and beliefs, and his calm confidence instilled faith that even the deepest disagreements can be overcome through dialogue and mutual understanding. His presence reminded us that change is not an instantaneous, but a gradual process in which every sincere meeting, every word of support becomes a brick in the foundation of a new, brighter future. When the clock struck midnight and Austin sank into the magical silence of the night, the air was still filled with music and echoes of conversations filled with hope and dreams. Keanu stood by the window of the New Dawn studio, watching the flickering lights of the city, and confidence was born in his heart. Tomorrow will bring new meetings, new challenges, and, most importantly, a new opportunity to prove that fortitude and sincerity can change the world. He knew that there were still many roads ahead, full of trials and difficulties, but he was ready to go through them, because every step brought Austin closer to the day when dreams, even the most fragile and shattered, will shine with the bright light of hope. The night in Austin fell with renewed vigor, as if promising that every moment lived leads to unforgettable changes. After a stormy evening full of sincere dialogues and aspirations for renewal, Keanu Reeves decided to delve into the atmosphere of the city, where the past and the future are intertwined in a single pattern of fate. His path led him to an old building in the center, which has long become a local legend, the House of Memoirs. It was a place where every corner reminded how life once boiled, and where memories of glorious days, lost and forgotten, could inspire new achievements. As Keanu entered the high-ceilinged, carved wood-beamed room, he felt the space fill with the voices of the past. Black and white photographs lined the walls, telling stories of people who had left an indelible mark on Austin. Among them was a photograph of a young woman whose gaze radiated strength and a dream. Her name was Margaret, and rumor had it that she had once led a local cultural renewal movement that had spawned many projects that had preserved the spirit of the city. It was stories like these that inspired Keanu, making him believe that change was possible, even when it seemed impossible. That evening, Keanu met one of the keepers of the House of Memoirs Memory, an old librarian named Oliver. His wrinkled face and tired but sincere eyes spoke of years of wisdom and trials lived in this city. Oliver knew every story, every name, and his voice sounded like a whisper of bygone eras, awakening awe and hope in the listener. Keanu, Oliver began, inviting him to sit at the antique wooden table. Here, among these pages of history, are the lessons that help us move forward. Look at these photographs and letters, each one filled with dreams, struggles, love, and pain. The stories we have tried so hard to preserve help us understand that each generation has its own mission. Keanu listened to every word, feeling his soul fill with warmth and understanding. Talking to Oliver made him remember why he chose Austin as a place to find not only inner peace, but also opportunities for change. These stories, like an unbreakable thread, connected the past and the future, showing that every dream, however broken, can be restored with new strength. A few hours later, when the clock in the ancient interior had long since struck midnight, Keanu left the House of Memoirs with the feeling that something new was brewing inside him. He understood that in order for the city to change, it was necessary not only to see the problems, but also to find strength in the memory of past victories. His mind was full of plans, and he decided that he had to gather everyone who was ready to share their stories, to rekindle the flame of hope. The next day, as Austin awoke to bright sunshine, Keanu headed downtown again to meet with the creatives who were already carrying the echoes of the previous night. He organized a gathering in an old city park, where people could freely share their dreams and ideas in the fresh air. Among those present were Jessica and Lauren, as well as many who had once sought a way to change their lives through art and culture. The gathering was designed so that everyone could tell their story, from the most joyful moments to the deepest personal tragedies. Keanu understood that it was in these stories that the power to unite people and inspire new achievements was hidden. At first, the park hall was silent, and then one by one, people began to speak up, sharing their memories and dreams. One of them, a young writer named Ryan, spoke about his childhood in the suburbs, where every day was full of adventure and amazing discoveries. But as he entered adulthood, his dreams gradually faded under the pressure of reality. His words were filled with longing for what was lost, but also with a sincere belief that change is possible if you dare to dream again. Keanu listened carefully to each speaker, taking notes in his notebook and occasionally asking questions to gain a deeper understanding of their experiences. His role at the event was not so much to impose his point of view, but to unite people, to make them feel important. He spoke about his travels, about meeting people who, despite all the adversity, did not stop dreaming, about the importance of staying in touch with your own roots and remembering that change begins with small steps. With each performance, the room was filled with new energy. People laughed, cried, hugged, and promised each other that they would never leave their dreams without support. The atmosphere was magical, as if everyone present got a second wind, and dreams that seemed utopian suddenly came to life in the hearts of the listeners. Keanu felt how his own mission gained meaning. He did not just witness change, but became its initiator. After the event, as the sun was setting, Keanu stayed in the park, watching the day go by. His thoughts were filled with plans for the future, ideas that could be implemented to unite the efforts of everyone who shared his dream of a better world. Austin became for him not just a city, but a living organism, where each of its residents was an important cell, capable of recovering and becoming stronger. At that turning point, standing under the gentle light of the street lamps, Keanu Reeves realized that change is not a fight against the world, but a path to harmony, where the past, present, and future intertwine in a single symphony of life. He promised himself that he would continue to unite people, inspire them to sincere actions, and never forget that even the most shattered dream can blossom again if given a chance. Thus ended the 6th chapter of this story, a chapter where the pains of the past became the foundation for hope, and each story became a brick in the construction of a new Austin. A city where the spirit of change was in the air and people's hearts were filled with the belief that a better future was possible today. As the morning light once again enveloped Austin, the city awoke with a renewed sense of anticipation for change. Keanu Reeves, inspired by the power of the stories and encounters of the previous night, felt that every moment was a step toward reviving the spirit of this amazing city. Ideas flashed through his mind on how to unite everyone who was ready to fight for their dreams and turn every spark of hope into a real flame of change. After a night of gathering in a city park where many voices merged into a single powerful echo, Keanu decided that it was time for a large-scale project that could unite Austin's cultural heritage with its modern appearance. He conceived of a festival that was supposed to become a meeting place for creative people, businessmen, activists, and simply those who did not want to put up with indifference. They decided to call it Rise of Hope. This festival was supposed to carry not only art, music, and theater, but also an opportunity for every resident of the city to declare their right to happiness and change. With the first rays of the sun, Keanu met up with Jessica, Lauren, James, and other friends he had made in recent days. They gathered in a cozy cafe on South Congress, where the walls, decorated with photographs of great Austin moments, told the story of the city. Discussing the details of the festival, they imagined the streets filled with music, colorful installations, and theater performances, where everyone could take part in the great celebration of life. Keanu, as always, advocated for sincerity and depth of experience. He dreamed of people not just watching, but creating new stories with their own hands, so that every song, every poem, and every painting would be a reflection of the city's spiritual state. We must make this festival not just a celebration, Keanu said, but a real platform for dialogue. Let it be a place where disagreements turn into creativity and dreams into action. We will show that Austin is not just a city, it is a living organism, where everyone can bring their own piece of light. This is how the idea for the festival was born, and within a few days the team was hard at work organizing the event. Jessica was responsible for the literary program, Lauren organized exhibitions and art installations, and James established contacts with local entrepreneurs willing to sponsor this ambitious project. Keanu personally met with musicians, writers, artists, and even those who previously seemed lost in the hustle and bustle of everyday life. He convinced them that their talent and energy could change the world for the better. The build-up to the festival filled Austin with a new rhythm. The streets of the city were filled with announcements, bright banners, and posters that promised an unforgettable event. Every corner began to breathe with creativity and hope. At one of the events in the center, organized jointly with the local university, Keanu gave a speech about the importance of cultural heritage and how change begins with small things, with every sincere word, with every act of support. His words resonated in the hearts of students and professors, causing a storm of discussion about the future of the city. Over the course of several weeks, the upcoming event became increasingly visible. Local media wrote articles about the upcoming festival, and Austin residents, regardless of age and profession, followed the news with interest. Each day brought more and more ideas and suggestions. Someone wanted to organize outdoor painting workshops, someone wanted impromptu concerts, and someone wanted poetry evenings under the starry sky. All of this was created with one common goal: to show that even in the most difficult conditions, it is possible to find inspiration and strength for new beginnings. The Rise of Hope Festival was a symbol of how even the hardest of challenges can be overcome with faith and love in the heart. Keanu watched as ideas turned into concrete projects, and people who had previously seemed alone came together as one. His personal involvement in every aspect of the preparation, whether it was discussing concepts with local artists or helping with logistics with James, made him feel like he was truly helping people believe in a better future. In the lead-up to the festival, Austin was filled with anticipation and joy. People were talking about how every corner of their city would take on new meaning, how art and culture would become a bridge between the past and the future. Keanu, feeling part of this grand process, understood that his mission here was only just beginning. Every voice, every word of encouragement, every smile were like pieces of a mosaic that gradually came together to form a picture that reflected the true essence of the city. its endless capacity to change and grow. When the day of the festival finally arrived, all of Austin was ready to embrace this wave of change. Music was playing in the streets, squares, and parks. Colorful garlands were hanging, and people were coming together as one to celebrate the beginning of a new era. Keanu Reeves, standing on the main stage, felt his heart overflow with pride for this city and for everyone who could believe in a dream. His words, spoken to thousands of people gathered, were full of warmth, gratitude, and determination. "We are together, and we can do anything. Let this day be the beginning of a new chapter, where each of us will be the creator of our own happiness." Thus began a true surge of hope, when Austin ceased to be just a city, but became a symbol of the fact that change is possible if it begins with a sincere desire to love and create. This day will forever remain in the memory of residents as a time when dreams came to life, and hearts were filled with a light that can dispel any darkness. After the Hope Rising Festival shook Austin with its sincerity and power of community, the city felt like it had been given a new lease on life. But behind every triumph is a challenge, and as Keanu Reeves watched the change echo through the streets, he knew there were still plenty of difficult moments ahead that could challenge even the brightest beginnings. The morning after the festival greeted the city with an unusual silence, as if Austin was thoughtfully digesting the emotions experienced and preparing for new achievements. Keanu, as if in a trance, watched the dawn, when the first rays of the sun glided along the walls of old houses, reflected in the shop windows of the newly lively streets. For him, this was not just the awakening of a new day, but a symbol of the fact that changes born of sincerity and collective spirit do not disappear, but penetrate the very essence of the city. In the days following the festival, people continued to share their stories, their experiences, and their dreams. Social media and local media were filled with footage from the events, where each voice sounded like a small victory over indifference. However, as it turned out, the echo of change brought not only joy and inspiration, but also questions that required deep reflection. Some Austinites, accustomed to their usual life, began to express concerns that such rapid changes could destroy established traditions in the usual way of life. In this contradiction, Keanu saw an important lesson. Every revolution of the spirit requires not only support, but also a wise balance between the old and the new. One bright day, when the city was once again full of movement and conversation, Keanu met Jessica and Lauren in a cozy corner of a local park. They discussed how Austin had transformed since the festival and shared stories about how the changes had affected ordinary people's lives. Jessica told how her book stand had become a meeting place for young poets, and Lauren excitedly shared her plans for new exhibitions dedicated to the city's cultural heritage. But beneath all the joyful talk, there was a subtle shadow of doubt. People wondered how sustainable these changes were, and how to maintain a spark of hope when reality once again tries to return everything to the old order. Keanu, with deep eyes and quiet determination, said, "Change is not a short-term surge of emotions, but a long process in which every little thing is important. Today we can inspire each other, and tomorrow we will face new challenges. But if we learn to listen to each other and maintain the sincerity that we feel today, then no difficulties will be able to extinguish the light of our hearts." His words resonated even with those who were skeptical about change. Little by little, a new initiative began to form in the city, a group of like-minded people who met every week to discuss plans to improve life in Austin. At these meetings, they discussed not only cultural projects, but also issues of social justice, support for vulnerable groups of the population, preserving the city's history. Keanu became an unofficial mentor and organizer of these meetings, helping people realize that every voice matters and every idea can turn into a real project. Soon, a new challenge appeared on the horizon. Financial difficulties and bureaucratic obstacles threatened the implementation of several initiatives. Some investors and government officials, seeing the rapid growth of activity, began to fear that the established order could be disrupted. Voices of discontent appeared on the streets of Austin, demanding compromise and a return to the old methods of governing the city. This created a tense atmosphere in which each participant in the discussion understood that the fight for a brighter future is always associated with resistance. In such moments, Keanu did not allow himself to give up. He initiated a series of open dialogues between representatives of local authorities, the business community, and activists, trying to find a compromise between innovation and tradition. His ability to conduct an honest conversation and find a common language became an example for many of how one can respect different points of view while maintaining the desire for change. At one of these meetings, held in the old building of the local cultural center, Keanu gave a speech in which he said that change requires not only courage, but also wisdom. He urged all those gathered not to be afraid of differences, but to use them as a source of strength, because it is diversity that makes the city alive and multifaceted. As the discussions continued, the participants became increasingly convinced that true change begins with small things, with each person's personal involvement, with a willingness to be honest with themselves and with others. And although new obstacles arose on the path to a new future, shared faith and mutual support became the anchor that kept the city afloat. Keanu, with his endless patience and genuine concern for people, became a symbol of the fact that even in times of crisis, you can find the strength to move forward. As evening fell on Austin, the city lit up with soft lantern light, and the streets filled with whispers of conversations and plans for the future. Keanu, walking along the waterfront, felt his own soul fill with peace and faith in the future. He understood that the echo of change that began with the festival would sound for a long time, reminding everyone that even the most difficult moments can become the starting point for a great journey. Looking to the future and the determination not to give up, this is what became the real strength of Austin. This chapter, full of victories and trials, left an indelible mark on the hearts of the city's residents. Keanu Reeves understood that there were still many roads ahead, full of challenges and doubts. But the light of hope lit today will never go out if everyone remembers that changes begin with a small step, with one kind word, and with faith in the best. And so, under the quiet rustle of the evening wind, Austin continued its path to a new future, where the echo of change sounded in every corner, reminding everyone that the power of spirit is capable of overcoming any obstacles and reviving dreams even in the most difficult circumstances. As Austin's sunset sky turned vibrant shades of scarlet and purple, the final chord of a long struggle for change began to ring out like a harbinger of a new era. A city that had been through a whirlwind of emotion, trials, and sincere hopes seemed to be waking up to a future where every crack in the old foundations gave way to new, solid foundations of unity and creativity. Standing on the roof of one of the historic buildings, Keanu Reeves watched the last rays of sunlight dissolve into the evening haze and felt a quiet but unwavering certainty brewing in his heart. Austin's future would be bright. The actor already had a series of meetings, performances, and conversations behind him, which became a real symphony of changes. His words, which sounded with sincerity and wisdom, managed to unite the most diverse people, from street artists to businessmen, from veterans of cultural traditions to young dreamers looking for their path in life. Each of them, like a link in a huge chain, contributed their part to the common cause, and together they created a city where even the most difficult trials turned into lessons, and every pain into a source of strength for future achievements. Austin, a city with a rich history, has found a new soul. On the streets where indifference and skepticism once reigned, one could now see people ready to lend a helping hand, support each other, exchange ideas and inspiration. Keanu Reeves has repeatedly convinced his interlocutors that change begins with little things, with a sincere smile from a passerby, with a warm greeting on a street corner, with conversations in a local cafe where everyone could find support. It is these small moments, collected together, that have become a powerful force capable of overcoming any barriers. The weekly meetings turned into a real forum of ideas. People discussed how to improve the city's infrastructure, how to preserve historical heritage, how to create conditions for creativity and education. At these gatherings, a sense of community arose, where every voice mattered and every idea was a chance for a better tomorrow. Keanu was at the center of this flow of change, like a bridge between the past and the future, wise with experience, but always open to the new. His participation in the discussions inspired even the most skeptical, making them see that even if the path to change is paved with obstacles, together they can overcome them. One evening, when the city had regained its calm after the hectic days of activity, Keanu decided to go for a walk along the famous Colorado River embankment. There, under the flickering lights and the sounds of quiet music, he met an old friend, James, who shared his thoughts on how the city had changed. James said, "Austin is not just a place on the map. It is a living organism that breathes thanks to each of its residents. We have been through a storm, but today our city is stronger. And all these changes are not the end, but just the beginning of a new chapter. The words echoed in Keanu's soul, reminding him that true renewal always begins with an internal awakening, with the realization that each person has the power to shape history. As he watched the lights reflect off the calm water, he knew that the past months had been a milestone, when, along with bitter experiences and difficult decisions, a new Austin spirit had been born, a spirit of hope, creativity, and connection. In the coming weeks, the city continued its journey toward renewal. Festivals, exhibitions, street concerts, and creative workshops filled locals' calendars, turning Austin into a cultural hub with something for everyone. Jessica's bookstand became a place for young poets and storytellers to share their dreams, and Lauren's art gallery became an arena where old and new styles merged into a surprising unity. Even those who had previously preferred to keep to themselves began to find new ways to connect and express their individuality. Keanu Reeves, watching this process, felt a deep gratitude for every moment spent among people who have the ability to change the world. He knew that change is an endless process, and there is never a moment when you can say, "That's it, we have achieved perfection." But it is the desire for perfection, the belief in the possibility of a better future, and the ability to unite in the fight against ignorance and indifference that create the basis for new achievements. As the final night of this milestone arrived, a grand event took place on the main stage in downtown Austin, where many people gathered to celebrate the beginning of a new era. With live music playing and heartfelt applause, Keanu addressed the crowd. His words were simple but heartfelt. "We have proven that change is possible. Our city is living proof that when people unite, when they are ready to listen and understand each other, nothing can stop the flow of hope. Let our story be an example for everyone who dreams of a better world. Together, we can turn even the most difficult challenges into opportunities for growth and renewal." These words became the final chord of the great symphony of changes that sounded in Austin over the past months. The city, which had experienced its ups and downs, found a new soul filled with love, mutual respect, and faith in the best. Keanu Reeves, who became not just a witness but an active participant in this amazing process, knew that new roads, new challenges, and new victories awaited him ahead. But nothing can stop this stream of hope, which, like the Colorado River, rushes forward, overcoming all obstacles in its path. And so, under the starry sky of Austin, the city finally awakened to a new future, a future where every dream, every word, and every action mattered, and change became an integral part of life. In this city full of warmth, sincerity, and creativity, everyone understood that true renewal begins with something small, with one good deed that, like a drop, can turn into an ocean of change. Several months had passed since Austin had experienced a revolution of change, and the city, as if awakened from a long sleep, continued to blossom in a new light. Under the cover of an early spring morning, when the coolness gave way to warmth, and the streets filled with the sounds of joyful laughter and lively conversations, Keanu Reeves felt that his mission here was not yet complete. Together with the residents of the city, he was building a future where every small good deed turned into a brick of a large, strong house of mutual understanding. With new projects popping up at every turn, Keanu noticed how change was affecting not only the cultural scene, but the very essence of the city's community. In a small neighborhood once dominated by cynicism and alienation, a new art school opened, designed to give everyone the opportunity to discover their talents and dreams. Here, in brightly lit halls, children and adults studied painting, music, theater, and poetry, discovering a world where creativity was the key to solving life's most difficult problems. The Time to Unite initiative held its meetings every Saturday in the city center. It was a space where everyone could express their thoughts, share their experiences, and contribute to the common cause. Keanu not only continued to give inspiring speeches, but also personally met with those who needed support, from aspiring artists to elderly residents who were struggling to adapt to the new reality. His warmth, sincerity, and genuine desire to help created an atmosphere of trust, where every voice sounded like an important note in the overall symphony of change. One of the highlights of this period was an open forum dedicated to issues of social justice and urban infrastructure development. This event brought together local government representatives, entrepreneurs, public figures, and of course, residents, whose stories became living proof that change is possible if it is supported at all levels. Keanu gave a speech in which he said that the true strength of society lies in unity, in the fact that we are all one team capable of overcoming any difficulties. He spoke about the importance of not only dreaming, but also acting, how important it is to listen to each other and find compromises, because this is the only way to create conditions for true prosperity. The forum sparked conversations about the city's future. A local engineer named Carl, with a deep knowledge of Austin's history, presented a plan to modernize public transportation and create green spaces in the city's busiest areas. His enthusiasm and belief in the ability to realize even the most ambitious ideas inspired many. Carl talked about how modern technology can help preserve the city's unique heritage without destroying its charm, but only adding new colors to the already rich mosaic of cultural traditions. At the same time, thanks to Lauren and Jessica's efforts, the old buildings of the center received a new life. New art galleries, cafes, and workshops opened, where everyone could find a corner for creativity and self-expression. Local artists began to hold joint exhibitions, combining their works into grand installations that told about the past and dreams of a common future. These creative projects became a symbol of the new Austin, a city where the past is not just stored in memory, but serves as a foundation for building a future filled with hope and aspirations for a better future. Keanu, watching the city slowly but surely change, felt his own heart fill with new meaning. He met people in the most unexpected places, in an abandoned factory turned into a creative cluster, in small corners where old legends came to life in the stories of old-timers, and even in lively cafes where ideas for the future were discussed over a cup of coffee. Every meeting, every word spoken in these moments became evidence that even the most far from ideal circumstances can be transformed if you put soul and love into them. A special place in this flow of changes was occupied by an evening open-air concert organized in one of the new parks. To the sounds of live music and applause of the audience, Keanu performed on stage again, sharing his thoughts on how important it is to maintain faith in the best, how important it is not to be afraid of change and accept a new life. His voice, filled with wisdom and warmth, was heard by many hearts, and each listener felt that it was here, in this unique moment, that the future was being born, capable of transforming not only Austin, but each of us. As the final notes of the concert faded into the night air, the city fell asleep under a blanket of stars, but not like before. Now every corner of Austin was shining with hope and unity. Keanu Reeves, leaving the stage, looked back at the crowd, and his eyes said more than any words. He knew that this journey, filled with difficulties, trials, and victories, was only just beginning. The time of unification brought a new era to the city, where the dreams and efforts of each person came together in a huge stream of change that could change the face of an entire community. At that moment, when the city had finally plunged into the peace of the night, only one thing remained: faith in a bright future, which burned in the hearts of all residents. Austin became a symbol of the fact that true changes begin with each of us, with every good deed, with every step towards the common good. And under the starry sky, where the lights of hope flickered, Keanu Reeves quietly whispered, "This is just the beginning. The time for unification is our time. Together we can do anything." So, in those last minutes, when the past and the future merged into one, Austin forever remained a city where change is not just a dream, but a reality built on love, unity, and an endless desire for the best. As time passed, Austin, like an ancient sage, began to write new lines of its remarkable story, weaving echoes of the past and promises of the future into the fabric of the city. Keanu Reeves, a symbol of change, watched as the legacy of community and creativity laid in recent months turned into a solid foundation for a new phase of life. A city that had endured trials of doubt and was lifted by a spirit of community now flourished in harmony with itself and the world around it. New creative spaces were appearing on the streets of Austin. Abandoned buildings were being transformed into cozy galleries where art met innovation, and old fountains in the squares once again lit up the hearts of passers-by with their cool murmur. Every corner of the city now spoke of the fact that change is possible if you give free rein to dreams and support each other. Keanu, as a true conductor of this metamorphosis, participated in the creation of monuments, projects, and initiatives aimed at preserving cultural heritage, united with the spirit of the times. One sunny day in early autumn, With the scent of fresh leaves and the promise of new beginnings on the breeze, Keanu hosted a gathering of people from all walks of life, from local artists and musicians to city veterans and young entrepreneurs. The central square, decorated with new installations and bright graffiti, was filled with a diverse crowd eager to share stories, ideas, and dreams. It was the culmination of a long journey, a symbol of the eternal search for harmony between the past and the present, between tradition and innovation. To the sounds of live music performed by street performers, Keanu gave a speech in which he spoke about how the true legacy of the city lies not in its architectural monuments or economic well-being, but in the people whose hearts and souls create an atmosphere of support, creativity, and understanding. He reminded the audience that every smile, every kind word, every meeting can leave an indelible mark on history. "We are here to pass on this legacy to the next generation," he said, "so that everyone who walks these streets feels that change is not a fleeting phenomenon, but an eternal striving for light, goodness, and unity." Listening to his words, people felt warmth and sincerity filling their souls. Smiles appeared on the faces of the spectators, and a glimmer of hope appeared in their eyes. Everyone understood that this moment was not just a tribute to the passing time, but the beginning of a new era, in which the memory of the past serves as a bridge to the future, where culture, art, and mutual support become the main values. During the celebration, Keanu unveiled the Legacy of Eternity project, which aimed to preserve the stories, memories, and dreams of Austinites in the form of a digital and physical exhibit. Anyone could contribute, from archival photographs and handwritten letters to contemporary installations and audio recordings of personal stories. It became a collective diary of the city, a repository of emotions, experiences, and hopes that could inspire future generations to heroic deeds and greatness. Over the next few months, the Legacy of Eternity project grew in scope and significance, becoming a permanent exhibit at the local cultural center, where not only residents but also tourists came to get a glimpse of Austin's true soul. Each exhibit, whether an old photograph of a street musician, a portrait of a long-forgotten hero, or a manuscript with a message of love and hope, spoke of how this city lives thanks to its people, their dreams, and their unquenchable faith in the best. Keanu continued to meet people, conducting master classes, talks, and public lectures, where he shared not only his memories, but also sincere thoughts about the meaning of every human act. He taught that true legacy is not material values, but emotions, experience, and knowledge passed down from generation to generation, inspiring everyone to new achievements. In the evenings, when Austin was wrapped in the soft light of lanterns and the quiet rustle of the night, people gathered around the new installations to listen to stories of old-timers, discuss what they saw, and think about the future. These moments became a real ritual, reminding that the city lives not only by buildings and streets, but above all by its people, whose destinies are intertwined into a single story full of pain, joy, hope, and love. And so, under the twinkling starry sky, the legacy of change lived on, turning into an eternal flame that could warm hearts even on the coldest days. Keanu Reeves, with a deep sense of satisfaction and pride in the work done, understood that the path traveled together with the people of Austin was not only a story of change, but also a lesson for the whole world. True strength lies in unity, mutual respect, and an endless belief that each of us can leave a mark on history. As the clock struck midnight and the city sank into a quiet, peaceful sleep, Austin quietly promised itself and its people that the legacy of eternity would live on in every corner, in every smile, in every word spoken with love. And under the starry vault of this eternal city, Keanu Reeves whispered, "The true legacy is in our hearts. May it burn forever." And so Austin continued on its way, remaining a city where change and heritage intertwine in an eternal symphony of life, inspiring everyone to heroism, creativity, and love. At the dawn of a new day, Austin was awakening again, as if reborn from a deep winter sleep. The past months of change, unification, and creativity had left an indelible mark on the hearts of the city's residents, turning it into a living embodiment of a dream for a better future. Keanu Reeves, like never before, felt the pulse of the city, its energy transmitted by every kind word, every creative impulse, and every meeting. For him, Austin became not just a place where destinies intersected, but a symbol of the fact that true strength lies in unity, mutual respect, and endless faith in a brighter future. Streets once filled with bustle and cynicism now sparkled with new life. Abandoned buildings were transformed into cozy cafes, creative studios, and exhibition halls, where local artists and musicians realized their dreams in color and sound. House facades were decorated with colorful murals, and parks became meeting places for everyone who was looking for inspiration and support. Every corner of the city was a reminder that change does not happen by chance. It is born from small but significant steps taken together. Keanu Reeves took a morning stroll down bustling East 6th Street. Watching his new storefronts and creative installations caught the attention of passersby. Each storefront showcased local talent, from paintings to sculptures that reflected the spirit of freedom and courage. Passersby smiled, discussed the new buildings, shared their impressions, and seemed to become part of the creative organism that was Austin. That morning, Keanu headed to the newly opened Cultural Center, where people gathered to discuss plans for the future, share ideas, and tell stories of past trials. Inside, the atmosphere was special. Photographs from the Legacy of Eternity project hung on the walls, reminding everyone how rich and multifaceted the city's history had become. Here, each exhibit was not just an artifact of the past, but a living testimony to the spirit of a community that can overcome any obstacle. Among the crowd, he encountered old friend Jessica, who was now curating a literary group, and Lauren, who had created a new exhibit about Austin history. They greeted him warmly, and the conversation quickly moved from reminiscing about recent changes to plans for the future. Everyone discussed how they could continue to push the boundaries of creativity and connect people through art, education, and good works. Austin has become an example for many, Jessica said, with a sparkle in her eyes. Here we have proven that together we can not only dream, but also act. Every initiative, every kind word makes us stronger. Lauren added, we have created a platform where every idea matters, where even the most humble talent can shine. This is our collective contribution to a future that will be bright and rich. Keanu felt his heart fill with gratitude as he listened. His mission, which began as a personal desire to help, had now become a global movement, a movement in which each person became the creator of their own happiness. He understood that even if time passes, if there are difficulties along the way, true renewal lives in the hearts of people who are not afraid to dream and act together. After the meeting at the Cultural Center, Keanu went to the embankment of the Colorado River. Here, under the soft light of the morning sun, he sat on a bench to enjoy the silence and calm that now reigned in the city. The river, reflecting the sky, seemed to symbolize the endless flow of life, constant movement, and change. He watched the passersby, young families, smiling old people, artists with notebooks in their hands. All of them were a single organism capable of creating miracles. In that moment, images of those he had met in recent months came flooding back to him. Passionate speeches at open forums, heartfelt conversations on the streets, bright moments when people, despite their fatigue, believed in a brighter future. These memories were like beacons guiding the way in the darkness, reminding us that each of us is a keeper of the light, capable of lighting a spark in even the coldest hearts. Keanu understood that changes are never final. Each era is replaced by another, and the future requires constant efforts, new ideas, and endless faith in the possibility of a better world. Austin became a city where the legacy of past victories inspired new achievements, where every day is a chance to make the world kinder, brighter, and more humane. Here, at the crossroads of times, he felt like not just a participant in events, but an active creator of history, which continues to be written by every person ready to open their heart to change. Thus, under the rays of a new day, the city continued its way to a bright future. Austin became a living example of the fact that even after the most turbulent trials, one can find strength for revival, that sincerity, kindness, and mutual assistance are the main values capable of overcoming any obstacles. Keanu Reeves, looking at the awakening city, quietly said, "The light of the future burns in our hearts. Let it lead us to new heights, inspiring us to feats and great creations." And so, with each new day, Austin continued to flourish, and the legacy of eternal faith and goodness was passed down from generation to generation, like a fire that does not go out, but only flares up with every touch of the soul. As Austin's evening sky, painted in deep shades of blue and purple, began to gradually dissolve in the gentle light of the night lamps, the city seemed to freeze in anticipation of the final chord of a long symphony of change. Keanu Reeves, no longer just a celebrity, but a symbol of unity and eternal faith in the best, stood on top of one of the old buildings, from where the whole city opened up. In his eyes, the lights of the streets, twinkling like stars, reflected, and in this moment he felt that every good deed, every sincere smile, and every word of support became a part of a huge canvas on which Austin writes its new history. Looking back on the past months, Keanu realized how much he had been through. From the first timid steps, when hope was just beginning to break through the darkness of indifference, to large-scale actions, festivals, and public forums that united the hearts of hundreds of residents. Austin had become a city where everyone could find their place, where every soul became an important note in a single symphony of change. People who were once lost and alone now looked boldly to the future, because together they were able to prove that even the most destructive winds of change can give way to a quiet but powerful breath of unity. New life was being created on the city streets. Abandoned buildings were transformed into oases of creativity, where laughter could be heard in every corner, melodies of live music could be heard, and bright graffiti told stories of dreams, of the struggle for light, and of how even after the heaviest storms you can see a rainbow. Book kiosks, cafes, and galleries became meeting places where everyone could share their stories, where the past became a bridge to the future, and where tradition intertwined with innovation, creating a unique legacy that was passed down from generation to generation. At the center of this amazing transformation was not only the city's energy, but also the spirit of community, woven from thousands of small but so important moments. Keanu often recalled the words of the old librarian Oliver from the House of Memoirs. The true legacy of a city is in its people. And indeed, it was the people who became the main characters of this story. Each of them contributed their bit, whether through creativity, support for their neighbors, or the courage to speak out about problems, and together they created a community capable of withstanding any adversity. On this final evening, Keanu decided to gather all those who had participated in this great movement in one place, where one could once again feel the pulse of a united city. The main square, decorated with lanterns and creative installations, was filled with many faces, from young dreamers to wise old-timers, from artists to entrepreneurs. All of them came to celebrate not only the end of one stage, but also the triumph of eternal faith in the best. The stage, simple but filled with sincerity, became a place where speeches, songs, and applause were heard, and the indescribable magic of unity was in the air. Keanu, walking out on stage, said with deep gratitude and warmth in his voice, "Today we are here to celebrate not the end, but the beginning of a new journey. A journey where each of you is a keeper of light, a creator, and a hero. Our city has proven that change is possible if we believe in the power of good, if we remain united and ready to help each other. Let the legacy of our efforts become a beacon for future generations, so that in every corner of the world this eternal call sounds. Together we can do anything." The applause spread across the square like a wave, confirming that every word found a response in the hearts of the listeners. People hugged, shared smiles and glances that conveyed hope and confidence that their joint work would leave an indelible mark on history. It was a moment when the past and the future merged into one, when everyone understood that their personal history was part of a great mosaic that could change the world. As the evening faded and the last lights of the square began to flicker in the darkness, Keanu remained on stage, watching his city fall asleep under the gentle blanket of night. There was no room in his heart for regrets, only endless gratitude for the souls he had met, for every brave act, and for the love that, like an invisible force, continued to unite people. He knew that even when the night fell, the light of their shared faith would burn brighter than any stars in the sky. And so, under the starry vault of Austin, where every spark reflected dreams and every shadow held secrets of days gone by, Keanu Reeves quietly spoke the last words of this story. "Our legacy is an eternal flame that will never go out. Let it light the way for those who seek the light and remind everyone that together we can create miracles. Let our city, our Austin, become a symbol of the fact that in each of us lies the power of change, the power of love, and the power of eternal unity." Thus ended a journey that began with a single step and turned into a great movement. Austin will forever remain a city where change and hope intertwine in an eternal symphony of life, where every good deed, every sincere smile, and every word of encouragement live in the hearts of people, passed on from generation to generation. Like a light that can illuminate even the darkest nights,